saved me a lot of time. And besides, the sheriff only gave me 15 minutes.
30.
30. So I have just a short time to say what I want to say. First of all, some important announcements. For all the times that I spent away from home doing wiretaps in the South or in the North, or working for months at a time in the west part of the country, working with the Secret Service at 12 weeks at a time on details, and all those other projects that I did away from home. There's one thing that I want to say is thank you to my wife of 50 years. She really put up a lot with me. I was always a gun-ho agent, the type that really wasn't afraid of anything. If they would ask me to do something, I would say, yeah, I'll do it. You know, go in, first one. I was always the first one first one through the doors during the operations. I never backed out of anything. I was always there, because that's just how I was. And it also got me in trouble. You know, I also got complaints, but what the heck? That's just the way I was. My sergeant didn't like it, but he tolerated it, or my supervisors, but that's just the way I was. The second announcement is that if you need a car wash and your car service, go to Grease Monkey, owned by my son. I just had to throw that one in. And one more, it's just, during my retirement, I got tired of not doing much, and I always loved turquoise jewelry, so I decided to learn to do it myself. And I do that as a side thing. So all you guys that have women that want nice turquoise jewelry, let me know. I'll give you a great discount. Today, a lot of you, I guess, are going to get awards for your performance and duty as a law enforcement officer. And it is hard to be a law enforcement today. I watch the news. I always talk to a good friend of mine, Albert Rodriguez, who graduated with me from 1977 Power Patrol School, who's an expert in law enforcement techniques. And we go over a lot of the events that have taken part throughout the United States, and we'll discuss who did what wrong, why did it happen. So it's a hard job, because you have to make decisions right away. If you don't, you're in trouble. Well, that's more or less what I want to talk to you about today. I was a special agent with ATF, and I only had 16 years of service with ATF. It didn't turn out the way I wanted. I always thought about 30 years service, have a good going away party. A lot of times we got guns that were engraved by the office as we left. Those were my goals in ATF. But it didn't happen that way. And I'll explain why, but after 16 years, one day they came into the office in San Antonio, sat me down, and said, more or less, we're putting you out to pasture. I think it's the best thing for ATF. I could have fought him. My attorney said we could fight. We fight and we win. But I didn't. I was tired. I was worn out. A lot of things had happened. throughout those 2 years that I decided it was time to leave. When I joined law enforcement, before I think about, my back giving out, my legs giving out, and I feel sorry for myself sometimes. But then I say to myself, guys, you had a great life. How many guys get to play college football, play with some of the great players that got drafted from the team I played with, and how many guys go Highway Patrol, which is damn hard school to go through, and it's hard to work. And go with ATF, travel all over the country, see a lot of things that I never got to see. Stay in some of the best hotels you would not believe are out there. It's like, you sit down sorry, babe. In the swimming pool waiting for your assignment, just do like this and they come and serve you a drink. That was California during one of the presidential details. And I think it's like, what, have a beautiful wife, great family. What else can I ask for? But that's just the way, I think sometimes. In 1992, a good friend of mine, and I'm going to go through some steps here. I'm going to tell you a story, and then at the end, I'm going to tell you why I told you this story. But in 1992, I was sitting in my office, I was bored, nothing going on, and a friend of mine that I broke in as an agent called me from Austin, Texas. He said, "Hey, Robert, I'm working on a big case." He said, "I need somebody that can probably work undercover and infiltrate this cult." And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, I'll do it." And that's right there, to me, was the beginning of the end of my career. That right there. And I think, go back, and I worked in narcotics with DPS. I had two of the craziest guys that broke me in that I worked with. George Olivo and Tony Garcia. I don't know if y'all know him. And you couldn't ask for some crazier guys. And sometimes that's what it takes if you're gonna work undercover. And George Olivo was my training officer. And the first time we were driving, he said, "Where are we going, George?" And I was a guy that's selling dope out of his house. I said, "Oh, great." So we get there, and he gives me $400 and says, "Go buy a pound." I said, "What?" I said, "Me? You want me to go in there?" I never done this. I was just a rookie. He said, "Yeah." He laughed. "Yeah, go in there, you do it." I said, "No, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do." Just be normal, just be natural and buy it. I said, "Damn, George, you can't do this to me." "Yeah, go ahead." I'm gonna put you outside. So here we go, this guy, and I walk in, and man, it just came. It was just, I bullshitted, excuse my language, I bullshitted my way through it, The guy liked me, and he sold me a pound. And I came out, man, I was the king. And from then on, I worked undercover, buying, 200 pounds at a time, 100 pounds. It just came easy. So when I came with narcotics, with ATF, I already had the kind of background needed to do what I did. Now, the name everybody gives me in the media and stuff is one I don't like. It was named me as Rodriguez, the ATF Undercover agent. But that's not all I did. I worked I worked at conspiracy cases. I worked gangs. Right? I did lots of search warrants on gun runners. Made a lot of arrests. So it wasn't just undercover. I consider myself a total officer. So when sometimes when I ask the guy, hey, what do you do? I'm an undercover agent. Oh yeah? What else have you done? Oh, I'm an undercover agent. You know, something like real important and big to him. Fine. But sometimes I feel like saying, but what else do you do? So I was good at doing a lot of things, but the undercover thing just came natural. And that's what it takes to be an undercover agent. You can't be afraid. You gotta have a lot of guts going to places that you've never been into. And you have to be able to respond in a heartbeat. You gotta be able to answer in a heartbeat. You can't hesitate or, no. It has to come. If it doesn't come, if you can't do that, don't do it. And there's not very many probably in this room that can do undercover work. Maybe one or two, I don't know, Sheriff, how many you have?
I know I can. Not anymore.
But it's not something that everybody can do. So when David called, he already knew me, he already knew how I worked. And in fact, I kind of trained him in that field too, and he was pretty good at it. He was from Detroit, and man, he had that guy. Really had that, Detroit, Chicago, type language, accent that made it very, very good. Me, I was just a Hispanic, looking for something to do. But he called me and I said, okay, it's fine. And like I said, I had no idea what it was. And I'm gonna cut it short a little bit and not go through all the detail because really Waco is a long, detailed thing. And all of you, hopefully you read it when my book comes out. And which is waiting pretty soon, I hope. And so for today, I want to break it down to just one portion. And I'm going to talk to you about the sentence is, they know we're coming. They know we're coming. It's something I use in my book constantly. It's something that came up in all the investigations. They know we're coming. They know we're coming. I was involved, of course, you probably all know, and some of you probably weren't even born yet. But in 1993, I was involved in a big operation, Operation Trojan Horse, in Waco, Texas. We attempted to serve a search warrant on this, what we call a compound. And if any of you ever saw it, you would get goosebumps when you see it the first time. It was huge, full of windows. It was just made like a fort. It was constructed poorly, but it was built like a fort. Had a section right up in the middle that oversees the whole countryside, and they had a 50 caliber machine gun on the top. That's the kind of compound it was. And when I saw it for the first time, and we drove through there to see it, I looked at it, and the first thing I said, and for ladies, excuse my language, but like I say, everything I say today is going to be the truth. I looked at it and I said, what the fuck am I getting into? Those were my exact words. So we had certain things we wanted to accomplish. The guys that were there, I had about 4 or 5 guys that were working with me that were assigned to taking videos. And, yeah, I mean, it was just, everything changed eventually. But there were young guys, and I knew that none of them would be able to do what Davey wanted us to do. They wanted us to make contact with Koresh. By the way, that was the main subject's name, David Koresh. Second was to infiltrate the compound. And third was to shoot with Koresh. Now, whoever thought of that? I mean, simple little things, right? And I saw that, I said, how in the hell did they expect us to do this? Here's a man that trusts nobody. He considers himself the Messiah. The only people they trust are those that live inside, and you want us to do this. But you know what? I thought up the schemes that accomplished all that. Yeah, I did. Because I had the experience that the other guys did not. He finally let me loose. Because I was an outsider from McAllen. They were all from Austin who were in charge of the case. And districts are very, very kind of, they're very, what's the word for it? Territorial. And don't do this here without my permission, don't do that. But this time, they let me loose, and I did my thing. And I'll give a big example of Koresh before I go into my story. On the 26th, I was in the compound, and I had just finished going through another 3 or 4 hour session of the Bible with Koresh. He was trying to convert me to become a member. He liked me. I mean, I hate to say it, but he liked me. I had that personality. In fact, all I was doing was bullshitting him, but that's what I was doing. And the day, that night when I was leaving, he stops me. So I want you all to think about this. He stops me and says, Robert, my undercover name was Robert Gonzalez. He says, Robert, and I turn around. I said, yeah, David. He says, Robert, people say I'm the Messiah. And I listen to him, and he says, what do you think? What do y'all say? No? You get pissed off.
Oh yeah, you are.
Yes? I said, oh, he's probably lying. So how do you respond? Anybody? That made me. But that's good. So what I did quickly, like I said, I always responded, quick. I went up to him. I put my hand on his left shoulder, and I said like this, David, I don't know, but your words are strong. He looked at me and said, that's good, Robert, that's good. I'll see you later. Okay, David. I left, I went, damn. He did it again, because he's always testing me, constantly testing me. But I was always able to come up with the answers. And that's a part of being undercover. If you can't do that, man, just don't do it. But on the other hand, this was a different situation. Sometimes if they were selling a pound or something, it's a lot easier than entering the compound and trying to convince this guy that you are who you are. But on the 26th, when I left, I had told Koresh that I would leave and I would not return until March the 1st. Because I knew that the warrant was going to be served on the 28th. So I left that day, And then the afternoon headed to Fort Hood, where they were having the final preparation for the assault. And as we were leaving, the supervisor, sergeant, in charge of the operation and assault, comes to me and says, Robert, we need to go in there one more time to see what response he has on a article being written by a newspaper called Sinful Messiah. And I said, I can't do that, Chuck. I already told the man I was leaving, and I just can't walk in there, to say, oh, hey, I want to come in. So we had an arrangement. I let him call me to go into the compound. I didn't want to force myself, because I knew he was real suspicious of everything, so I didn't want to force myself on him. But anyway, I called over there to the compound. I said, hey, can I join you all in your services? Saturday was the services, church services. And I didn't realize how long they were. I went in the morning. I sat in the right on the left side where all the men sit, and all the women sit on the right side. And he would stand in front and he would preach. He would preach and sing, and he would stand there, and the women would bring him food and drinks, and the man would sit there. You couldn't get up to his bathroom, you couldn't do anything. Nobody told me that. So I was sitting there, oh God, I need the bathroom. But I couldn't get up. If I don't get up, I don't get up. So after the first 6 hours, I left for a 2-hour break and then came back 6 more hours for the night. And there was nothing suspicious, about the article. He talked about it. And I'm gonna leave. I said goodbye. I'll see you March the 1st. So I leave. That was on the Saturday, on the 27th. I go back to the DC house, and I said, man, it's over with. Thank God it's over with. I don't have to do with it. Sure enough, 2:30 midnight, or whatever, after midnight, the servant calls me again. Robert, we need food to go in Sunday morning before the raid. I said, I can't do it, Chuck. I can't do it. It's not that I'm afraid, but I can't do it. He'll know something's up if I do it. I know. I've been in there. I know how he is. Robert, we got to make sure everything's still okay. I said, Chuck, listen. Every time I did that, I put my life at risk. Because I didn't know how he was going to react when I did things. I knew him. I already knew courage. And I said, Chuck, he said, man, we need for you to do it. And I need for you to be out by 9 o'clock. I said, there's no way. The raid was at 10. And they wanted me out by 9 o'clock. And I went in, the rest kept me there for 2 hours. And we talk about the Bible, talk about the beast, we talk about the horsemen. Because they dealt in the book of Revelations. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that book. It's the last book in the Bible when it talks about the 4 horsemen, the horsemen of death and destruction. And then the final days of destruction of the earth. And those that are going to survive and going to come back. That's what they believe in. So I say, okay, Chuck, I'll do it. So now here I go. I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to go up there, knock on the door, and say I want to come in? All night I tossed and turned, I couldn't sleep. Then I thought, well, I'll go to the store in the morning, get the 2nd edition of the Sinful Messiah, and take it to him and say, hey, look what I read in the paper. And see if that works. Well, it worked. He let me in. Y'all come on in, let's look at it. We sat down and we started reading it. He started explaining to me the characters that were involved and provided the information. And we were there talking, and I mean, everything was normal as possible. There were about 2 people there listening. And then somebody comes in a hurry, comes into a compound, and he's still talking, and they call him out. David, can we talk to you? He just keeps on to him. Then he comes back again and says, David, I need to talk to you. And he just keeps talking. And then David, called from England, which was just a made-up name. And he gets up quickly and goes. Now I'm there waiting. And then he comes back. And the whole tone of the conversation changed. Everything changed. He sits down, and we're sitting down next to me when we're talking. He gets the Bible and tries to read it, but he can't read it. He's like this. He's like this. David Koresh, he's like this. And he turned and grabbed the book, and I said, "You all right, David?" That's the kind of relationship, the tone that I always spoke to him. I grabbed the book and said, "You all right, David?" He said, "Yeah, okay." And then he cries, and he gives up. He stands up, puts the Bible down. There were 2 windows in the foyer where we were, on the left and the right. I'm sitting down, he gets up, he goes to the left window and says, "They're coming, Robert. They're coming. The time has come." And then he goes to the next window, but before he got to the next window, I thought to myself, shit, he knows. He knows. And when he got to this went to the next window and said, "The National Guard and the ATF are coming. The time has come." And I said to myself, relax, relax. Just relax, play it cool, play it cool. And I sat there like nothing was going on, you know. But inside, I hate to tell you what I was thinking. So I just sat there as good as possible and just keep saying to myself, relax, relax. And then all this was going through my mind. I know I can't make it to the door because the soldiers started coming in by that time. And they had my exit blocked. And I thought, well, I could probably crash through the window. And I know I have snipers at the other end. They can probably cover me if they have to. I mean, all these scenarios are going through my head. You know, you have to do all this to prepare yourself for what is coming. And he kept saying, he kept in and said, "They're coming, Robert. They're coming." So I stand up, and I said, "Well, David," no, like an idiot. I said, I had to go meet the guys for lunch, for breakfast. You know, they were waiting for me. It'll probably be my last time I see them for a while. And he continued one more time and says, "The time has come." And I'm standing there, and then he turns around and walks straight at me. I says, "Okay, Robert." Right there when I looked around the eyes, I knew that he pretty much figured out what I was. And he says, "Put his hand out." And my body just relaxed completely because I knew now that it was over. No sense, you know. And I grabbed his hand, I shook it, and I said, "Good luck, David." And He held for a little while, and he goes like this. And as soon as he let go, he does this to his soldiers, and they kind of open a little way, alley for me, whatever, to get to the front door. That was the longest walk I ever made to a door. I took my time like if nothing was, bothering me. I kind of stopped one time and kind of moved my shoe, pretending that I was, but I'm still scared. I said, they're going to shoot me in the back. I know they're going to shoot me in the back. Take a deep breath there in the door, and then I walk to my blazer. Get inside, I get the key, and I cannot put the key in the ignition. I'm like this. And I tried like twice, and I could not put it in the ignition. So I grabbed my other hand, and I grabbed this hand, and I put the key in the ignition. And I drove out. You talk about stress? That's stress. Went to UC House, told everybody there, man, they know we're coming. He talked about this, talked about that, they know we're coming. Call your supervisor and tell him. I called Chuck, who's at the command post, and I said, Chuck, they know we're coming. They know. He says, you seen the guns? No. What was Chris wearing? And I told him. He says, okay. And he hands up. Whoa, that's it? And I said, well, I want to go. I want to head to the command post. And I want to talk to the sergeant before they go. I rushed to the command post. And Phil Lewis was in charge of the whole operation there, and there's a lot of people there. I said, where's Chuck? Where's Chuck? They're gone, Robert. They're gone. What do you mean they're gone? I said, call them. Call them. I need to talk to them. He said, they're just about inside the compound. And I said, no. They know we're coming. I told them they know we're coming. By then it was too late. He says, man, there's a lot of gunfire, a lot of people are hurt. He said, we can't get a hold of them. It was too late. So I rushed outside. Well, I started yelling to him, give me a gun. I need a gun, because I didn't have a gun. All my guns, everything I had was in the undercover. I said, give me a gun, give me a weapon, give me a rifle, give me something. He said, no. I said, and there was some agents saying, let me have your gun. And Phil tells him, no, don't give him anything. Don't give him anything. So there was, nobody would give me a darn gun. So I go outside. It's all true story. I break out crying. Like, man. So what I did, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And it's a mindset. I don't know how to explain it to you, but I said, I'm going to go help my guys. I'm going to get in the truck. I'm going to haul ass. And when I get to the compound, I'm going to floorboard and just crash into the compound. I had my mind set. I was ready to do that. Nothing. I was tunnel vision. I was hauling, and I get to a VPS roadblock. And Lino Martinez, VPS officer there, and you, he stops me. He said, let me through, man. I gotta do something. I said, no. They told me to stop you. I said, Lino, I got to go, man. I got to go. I said, man, they told me if anybody was crazy enough to do something, it was you. And they didn't want me to let you go through. I said, come on, Lino, please. I said, if you don't come out, I'm going to take you out and cuff you. Get a highway patrol friend of mine. So I gave up, got out, went to the back of my truck, cried some more. and they watched me make sure I didn't jump into the truck and take off. But that was my mindset, to really die with my guys. It's hard to explain to you. I never told my wife this, but it's hard for me to explain to you the mindset that you have to have to do something like that. But you will probably do the same thing for many of your fellow officers, because that's what I was doing. My guys were in trouble. They were in a hell of a firefight. Guys were getting killed. Guys were wounded. I mean, it was a massacre all the way across. So I left, went back to the command post, and they finally, they came up with a ceasefire. So David Aguilera and I went around, went to where the triage area was going to be held. And when we got there, they said, we need an ambulance to go into the compound, get the wounded. Ambulance drivers didn't want to go. They would not go. They would not drive into the compound. They said they didn't want to get shot. So David got into the driver's seat, and I got in the back of one of the ambulances. And we rushed into the compound. And I got there, we got there, getting ready to come out. David yells out, "Don't get out, Robert, they're going to shoot you, they don't recognize you." So there I sat in the back. And we thought we were going to pick up one guy or two guys or three guys. But then they started coming out from everywhere. And I was sitting down in the back, and the first person they put in the back was Steve Willis. They put him on my lap, and I held on to him. And I asked the agent, no, he's dead. So I held on to him, tight as I could. We filled up the ambulances pretty fast, so we had to commandeer more ambulances. We had to commandeer trucks, cars. We even commandeered the vehicles belonging to the news people that were, and that's another story. We got all the wounded, all the dead out of the compound. And I was standing there on 2491, which was the highway, the road, where everything was happening. And I could still remember everybody trying to get CPR, give first aid, helicopters coming in. I mean, it was like a war zone. I don't know if any of you are veterans, Afghanistan or whatever. I'm not, but that's what it looked like. It was like a war zone. And then David comes to me and says, "Hey, the guys want to use your truck to put the dead and cover them from the news media." By that time, from here to my feet, I was soaked in blood. Steve Willis had, lost all his blood. And when he was standing on me, I guess, and I felt my body go wet, get all wet. And I stood there, also I looked and I said, "Damn." I mean, I was soaked. I was really soaked. So we go and we put all the agents in my pleasure. And I shut the gate. And I'm there just looking at him, and I just stayed there looking at him. I never really dealt with that. I never dealt with death, with so much blood, so much trauma before my life. Here's a guy that was always real gun-ho, real tough, not afraid of anything, go through everything. But man, I tell you, it's a different story. And finally, when it's time to come with an ambulance, open up the gate, and about 6 guys, we would make a little line, and we took out each agent. one at a time. Took them out, put them in the hands. And they left. I go back to the truck, close the gate, the back of my truck, and I swear I had at least that much blood just laying in the back of my truck. And then I looked to the right, and there on the right was the Bible that I was using when I went into the country. The Bible that the rest of you. I grabbed it, it was opened, and it was opened on the book of Revelation. Full of blood. I grabbed the Bible, walked a little distance from where I was, an open area, and I threw that Bible as high as I could. And I said, why, Lord? Why do you allow good guys like this die in the hands of people like that? I walked to it, and I stepped on it just for the hell of it. Went back, closed the gate, and I left. And that was always the end of the most horrifying, tragic day of my life. And the reason I want to tell you all this is because a lot of you maybe will never get the opportunity, or hopefully never are involved in something where you see a lot of your men die, killed, massacred, whatever, because it's something you probably will never forget. To this day, when I'm driving and I see roadkill, I turn my face and I go around it. I could no longer hunt because the smell of the blood remind me of the smell of the blood that I had on my body. That's how much an effect all this had on me. And this is a tough guy, remember? Went through 1977 DPS school, toughest school you can ever go through. You know, thought I could do anything I wanted, strong with anything to anybody, not afraid of anything. But man, twice I put a gun to my head at different occasions. The only thing that stopped me was my family. That's how much of an effect it had on me. So I left finally in 1998. And they came in and said, it's time for you to go. Because I was really outspoken by then. And I just wasn't the same anymore with ATF. So I said, okay, I'm gonna come by and pick up your gun in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks I stayed around the office, and I think 2 people said goodbye to me. And I said, when I left, I said, well, Mr. Perez shook my hand before I left. But that was just another beginning of what went on. Lawsuits, all kinds of stuff. I fought back because the supervisors kind of put the blame on me. But what saved me was the grunts, because they heard everything that was said. They heard what Serbian said. They heard what was said in the command post. But still, they lied about it. In the famous words, they know we're coming. They know we're coming. Even the agents that I still talk to that were involved with the raid still remember, Robert, I remember Sherman coming in and yelling out, "Let's get ready, get ready." They know we're coming. And they even asked him, "Why are we going if they know we're coming?" But these guys, they still, put their keys somewhere, put notes who it belonged to, told the other agent if I would come back, tell my wife I have the money in my wallet here. Or, everybody was pretty much saying goodbye. And that right there pretty much for me on that day was the day I went to sleep that night in my blazer. Place to go at that time. I slept outside, still smelling all the blood on me. Had to roll down the windows, it was getting hot. But that's what I lived with. So the story for me there, for you all, is if you ever get into a situation, probably not something like Waco, but the way things are now, golly, who knows what's going to happen. You have to make decisions of what needs to be done. And if something happens, there's help out there that you can get that will help you get through it, like me. So guys, really, I've been asked by many organizations to do talks, and I've always said no. Netflix, well, we never really could come agreement to a contract. NBC once came to my house, knocked on the door, I went and did an interview, just like that. And then other organizations that wanted to me to give interviews. I never wanted to. But this was a law enforcement gathering, and I thought that it would be a good time for me to do it, besides for Sheriff Quayle. So that's why I came. I don't know if that made any sense to you and what happened. It was, like I said, it was just the beginning of the tip of the iceberg of everything that happened. I just gave you a little piece. I didn't talk about the other days I was inside of the parish and what I had to go through during those days. But that was one of the most important ones. So Sheriff, I'm sorry if I went over 30 minutes. And I want to thank all of you for allowing me to come here today. Thank you very much.